Corso and Catone.
Well, listen, Mark, hold on. When I say, would you have caffeine today?
What the hell is that up to?
Presented by Special Sauce Podcast, Studio 42 Design, and Corso Law Group. Now for the real deal New England feel, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into the Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is in the booth, and you're with us watching on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, or wherever you podcast. And listen, give us a call on Heated Hotline. Leave us a message, 24/7, 855-313-PATS. Anything's on the table. We want to hear from you. Lots of going on this week, so we want to hear 855-313-7287. Got a packed show today in the Pats Nation. We're going to recap that Miami game, that win over the Miami Dolphins last week. And in Pats Preview, we're going to preview the Bills game tomorrow. They kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern up in Buffalo. Going to talk about offensive, defensive keys to victory, game predictions, and we're going to go through that NFL playoff format that just was voted on yesterday and come down. So we'll talk all about that and a couple of games that are going on today. And, of course, stick around. Catone's comments. He warned us last week that it's going to be a good one this week, so we want you to stay around for that. And, of course, step up to the Sportsbook Sunday spread. We're going to give you our locks of the week in this final week, NFL Week 18. So, before we begin, we have to acknowledge this week, obviously, unless you've been in a cave and don't understand what's happening. The horrific situation that happened on Monday Night Football with DeVar Hamlin for the Buffalo Bills, went into cardiac arrest on the field. Needed CPR, was revived, got in there, and we all know the story about what happened. Luckily, we've given news yesterday through the league and through the Buffalo Bills that he's awake, he's doing much better. He's actually, the breathing tube's been removed. He's speaking now. He talked to his team. He's talked to his family. He got on Zoom calls or FaceTime calls with some of the players. So he's obviously doing much, much better. Obviously, we still keep our thoughts and prayers with them until he's actually out of the hospital, But it's been a tough week all around the league and all around the country, Mark.
Yeah, it has been, absolutely has been. And I was watching the game Monday night, just like you were, Chris, and millions of other people around the country. And it was a really horrific situation and a heart-wrenching situation to see what happened. And thank God that he's doing much better and he's not out of the woods yet. However, it appears that he's going to be okay. And it was just, and the way I think the two teams bonded together. The coach for Cincinnati was one of the main reasons why the game was canceled, because he was facilitating that, because he saw that the coach of Buffalo, Sean McDermott, was in no shape to continue coaching. And Taylor went up to him and said, "No, this game's over." And he went to the refs, and he, I think, pushed it with the league, because I think McDermott was just in shock of everything that was going on. So I'm going to give kudos also in this situation to the social emotional thoughtfulness of Zach Taylor, the coach for Cincinnati, and the classiness that he had. And again, just thank God that the situation has turned out the way that it has. And DeVar Hamlin is, appears to be on a slow road to recovery.
Yeah. And they came down with that 5 minutes to get, look, you can't, it's hard to come down on anybody, the league, anything like that, because you're sitting in New York and you're trying to figure out what's going on, just like we're doing, and they're getting word. And it's just such a hectic situation, unprecedented, although Belichick pointed out in his press conference in 1997, you remember this, Mark, when, Brown went down over there in Detroit when the Jets were playing, and same thing, CPR on the field, the ambulance brought out. I think this was a much different this was a lot more horrific as to what was going on. You could see it on the players' faces. But I think the league handled it properly. The players, everyone around the league, the coaches, pretty much Belichick and everybody else was basically saying, "Hey, look, Buffalo, whatever you want to do, we'll do it."
Yeah,
you know.
because New England, basically, it's Belichick was okay with, hey, if we got to cancel the game this week, we'll cancel it. I mean,
Or
whatever Buffalo
postpone it.
needs. So everybody was banding together behind DeMar
Yeah.
Hamlin and what his needs were and what the Buffalo Bills' needs were, and those players and
And
coaches.
it's more important. It's just so much more important
it's
than anything to
life.
do with the game. But
It's life.
listen, it is life. But listen, this is what we do. He's basically the equivalent of giving the thumbs up now. As you're coming off the field, basically when you're injured. We want to get back to what we do, right? We want to talk about sports. He wants us to talk about sports. The first thing he did when he was awake or whatever is
he want to know if they won.
Did we win? So it's these are how these guys are wired, and
they are.
So you honor them by doing the best you can at the things you do, and we're going to try to do that today. And we want to go into Pats Nation now. We want to go back and talk about that Miami game last week, that win for the Patriots. So Joe, Pats Nation.
Are you ready for the Pats Nation? The only real deal Patriot post-game show. And now, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into the Pats Nation, the only Patriots post-game recap show worth watching. And 23-21, the Patriots win and beat the Miami Dolphins last week to keep their playoff chances alive after a 2-game losing streak on the road there in Oakland or Vegas, and then coming home to Cincinnati. So 2 tough losses, but they stay in the hunt. Tomorrow's game really matters a lot. But going back, we want to talk about Mac Mania, our coach's corner, and give our Sunday stiffs quickly from last week. But Mark, overall for them last week against Miami, I mean, is it really any different?
It still was. No, it's not any different, Chris. It was still a poor performance by the offense, coaching, player-wise, quarterback-wise. They got bailed out by the defense this is 3 straight weeks where the defense has scored a defensive touchdown for them. 4. I'm sorry, 4. And this is a record for the Patriot organization. They've never had this many defensive touchdowns. And they lead the league, Chris, this year in defensive touchdowns. What do they have, 7? I think.
Something like that, yeah, 7.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So they lead the league. They lead the league. So if I told you before the season started that this defense was going to lead the league in defensive touchdowns, you would never guess we were 8-8. You would think, oh, man, we're having a great year. We're 8-8, right? So, but anyways, Chris, no, it was more of the same. And I actually told you during the game, for the first time, Mac Jones isn't the guy. Just what I was watching out on the field and some of the decision-making he was making. And I've never said that. And Sunday I told Chris, I said, he's not the guy, Chris. And
Well, let's break him down. I want to go to Mac Mania, and we'll talk about his numbers and what he did. Joe?
Mac Mania!
20 of 33 for 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times in this game for 31 yards. So the numbers don't look bad again, right? He goes another week without throwing any picks, any interceptions, things like that. He throws 2 touchdowns. So on its face, when you look at the numbers, you say, hey, he had a pretty good game, We'll take that. I mean, like I said, how many yards? 204 yards. I mean, gets over 200. A quarterback
but against
rating
a depleted
defense.
A depleted defense. That secondary for Miami was just as depleted as our secondary was, right? And
so it really isn't. So the numbers don't really tell the story, Mark. What'd you see out of them? I mean, Chris, look, we've already gone through the antics. We've already gone through the emotional part of this. The fact that the coaches suck. We know this. Okay.
Chris, it's the eye test. It's the eye test, right? So you say it all the time. Don't look at the numbers. Look at this, the eye test. Look at what he's doing and how he's doing it on the field. Again, Chris, he throws the ball to the wrong guys. He's missing reads. He's missing audibles. He's throwing too far in front of guys, behind guys. If you hit a guy in stride, maybe he scores a touchdown. You're throwing it behind him. He's just perfect example, Chris. Okay, everyone's making a big deal out of the goal line situation where they claim he picked up the fact that Jacoby Myers didn't have anybody on him, and he threw the touchdown to Myers in the fourth quarter. But the play before that,
Yeah.
Thornton, there was nobody on that side of the field. Whatever Miami was doing, there was nobody there. They called the play. He turns and hands the ball off, not realizing Belichick calls a timeout. He had no idea Belichick called a timeout. The play was a running play. He turned and called it. He didn't survey the defense or look up because all he had to do was Thornton screaming for the ball because there's nobody on him, doesn't even look at him. That's a problem. Listen, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tom Brady, whoever, I think even Zappy would have noticed that there was nobody on Thornton. He don't even look there, Chris. That's a problem.
Yeah, it is. And again, you can't say, well,
and I'll tell you what, Chris, I bet you during the timeout, Belichick told him something, and that's why he looked up and surveyed and saw there was nobody on Myers the next time he went to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, like something like, hey, you want to take a look at the defense? You want to take a look at what the hell's going on the other side of the field before you snap the friggin' ball? And to Mark's point, and I'm glad you said it was specific what you said, the play went off. He didn't know the timeout was called. So the play went, and I don't know if he got in. I think he got in anyway, but the whistle had blown, whatever. But the point is, he snapped the ball. He thought the play was going. He didn't see it. And, Mark, that's just one thing out of so many that happened that I saw in that game. He was short-hopping balls to players that were open. He had guys open. He had Aguilar open down the sideline.
That should have been a touchdown, Chris.
And he overthrew it. He overthrew two guys down the sidelines, underthrows, getting guys, putting them at risk, getting the ball up over the middle too high or too far behind to take a shot and a hit. His pocket presence, isn't as good as what it was last year. Now, you can blame the coaches and you can say it's just this organization. His offensive line sucks. It's to the point where it's in his head so much that his play has just gone in the toilet. Okay. Then you know what? Then he's not the guy for that reason. Because things aren't always going to be what you need them to be. Things aren't going to be Alabama. It's not going to be Alabama.
If you're not, listen, they were showing a clip the other day, Chris, of Alabama. Do you know who he had as his receivers at one point? Listen, Chris, listen to this. Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, okay, and Mechie, all on the same team.
I'm
sorry, Jerry Jeudy.
Judy, I was going to say, wasn't Judy over there
Jerry
too?
Jeudy. So those were he had 5 guys that were first-round draft picks, all on that team.
Including the back. Who was the running back over there?
Jacobs was in the backfield, first-round draft pick.
And then the other one, who was the other back? Not Harris. Doesn't he play for, maybe I'm wrong, but doesn't he play for Pittsburgh now?
That's what I'm talking about, Jacobs.
Yeah, no, Jacobs plays for Oakland.
Oakland. He plays for Oakland. No, the guy for Pittsburgh, I think, was the year after.
Yeah. So,
but Chris,
in the offensive line, there's some Pro Bowlers on there too.
Imagine having that wide receivers group in your room.
It makes it easier. And that was one of the things we talked about when he was going to be drafted. We talked about when we were evaluating Field, who do you want? You want Fields? You want, Wilson? Do you want Mac Jones? And one of the things that kept me going to back and forth was the talent. He had too much talent to evaluate him properly.
Yeah.
This ain't Alabama. The NFL is not Alabama, man. You're going to have to deal with a lot of speed bumps, and he hasn't shown that he can deal with the speed bumps really well. It's affected his game for whatever reason. Got to be more of a pro than that. Yeah. So,
for that alone, Chris, you're right. It's probably why he's not that next guy, because as a professional football player, you got to deal with a lot. You got to prepare. You got to be ready. I mean, and I don't necessarily know, Chris. Listen, last week's game, what you just described, Chris, the overthrows, the short hops, throwing the ball hot, all of that last week said to me, oh my, you know what? And I get the coaching. Maybe if he had McDaniels from the beginning of the year, we'd be having a different conversation. I don't know. But that game against Miami, Chris, really said to me, I don't think this kid's the guy. I really don't, because it was bad. That Miami performance, Chris, if you went back and watched the film,
Yeah.
Even though they won the game and the stats don't look bad, he had a real bad game.
Yeah. Well, okay. And so, again, to us, I kind of tend to agree with you. They're going to give him another year because,
of course they are.
The money works out.
Unless they sign number 12 as a free agent, and that's not happening.
Well, that's going to be next week. We have our season recap because I think both Mark and I both feel, not to give you a little glimpse, but into Pat's preview, but I think Mark and I feel like the Patriots aren't going to win tomorrow in this playoff game. They're not going to make the playoffs. So I think we'll be having a season recap show. And we're going to talk about that. Whether Mac Jones, what should the offense look like? But Mark, get into the rest of the offense. Okay. Same stuff. Offensive line.
All the same stuff.
It's been, and I'm pulling up the team stats from that game. Third down again. It was a little better. 5 of 13 when it's been like 2 of 13, but still not good. They're 0 for 1 on fourth down. Red zone, again, red zone still is a problem. Now, last game, they were 2 for 2, so they did pretty well. But again, one of them was that play, that one you just described. The offensive line, it's been the same offensive line for the last 5 weeks, last month, basically, and they haven't been able to they haven't been able to crack, again, it wasn't 100 yards that they got again, running the ball. So you start there, right? They rushed for 76 yards with those backs. That's look, the offensive line's been a problem all season long. They're playing like it's a problem. You mentioned Cole Strange. I don't know. They got to revamp the entire thing.
So Chris, think about it. Trent Brown only signed a 1-year contract, right?
Yeah.
So he's gone. Wynn's gone. Strange needs work. I guess you got to build around Andrews, but you're right. You almost got to reconstruct the entire offensive line for next year. There's a lot of work that has to be done. And that reconstruction starts with an offensive lines coach because it certainly isn't Matt Patricia.
Yeah. It compounds the problem when you have to start with coaching. You have to start replacing that and then trickle down to the players because, hey, everybody gear up in New England for this draft. Gear up to be pissed off because however high their draft pick is, they're taking an offensive lineman. It's going to happen.
They're going to try to take a left tackle. They're going to try to take a left tackle, right?
They're going to take whatever tackle's available, whether or not it should go there or not. So get ready for another Cole Strange draft pick. But yeah, Mark, it's a huge problem. It's affected their running game, especially when they go against some decent teams. I still have no problem with the backs.
No.
Stevenson has carried this team. I even like the young backs. I even like some of the guys that get Harris.
No, I think the young backs have shown some promise, Chris. I think they're going to be okay. I think I just think it's a matter of the offensive line is so dysfunctional and inept, And
they can't protect them.
No,
no,
they can't.
A guy like Mac Jones shouldn't be running for his life back there. Like that's not who he is. That's not his game. That's not.
And Chris, to be honest with you, he's kind of gotten some happy feet too, where he's not even waiting for plays to develop because he's going to get hit or he thinks he's going to get hit and he's trying to get rid of the ball. And in some instances, that's forcing him to throw the ball too high or too long because he's not set. He doesn't have the proper mechanics on the throw. Where if he had time and was able to do that, maybe it'd be look a little bit different. But
when you go to the receiving corps. Look, we give Mac Jones a lot of crap, and we should, and you should. But, man, this receiving core, and in this game, it wasn't much. But, 20 or 30.
Receivers, Bourne had a good game last week. Where was he this week?
Again, let's see. Where is he on the list? Kendrick Bourne. He only got two throws. He got 2 attempts, 2 throws at him, and he caught one of them for 16 yards. Tyquan Thornton, again, Jacoby Myers was the leader and 9, he had 9 looks, 6 catches. Henry had 6 looks for 5, so pretty good percentage there. He caught 5 passes out of 6. 7 to Thornton with 3 catches. Along with 29 yards.
And Thornton's been inconsistent, Chris, and he's dropped a couple of balls he should have caught. And I know you're not a fan of his footwork. And when we talk about our wrap-up show next week, because we think it's going to be a wrap-up show, we're going to talk about coaching. And I know you and I were talking this week that we're very disappointed in Troy Brown because you've seen no improvement from the receivers, Chris, from week one. And you really were looking for it with a guy like Thornton, a rookie. You've seen no improvement in any of some of the skills that you would think that he would be able to gather during the course of a 17 or 16-week season. And we haven't seen it.
Yeah, so again, another game. They win the game, but again, on offense, they didn't do it because of the offense. Let's just say that. And so flipping to the other side of the ball, hey, look, Mark, this team, you play the cards you dealt, right? I mean, Miami's playing a third-string quarterback. They start with Bridgewater, who's, for anybody who was talking about Bridgewater coming in to play in New England as a stopgap or
I think he showed you no.
He shows you no by the fact that he doesn't appear to want to be playing through much, does he, on that field? So you get the third string quarterback in there. I don't even know what his name is. Skylar Thompson.
And he actually gave them a little spot, Chris.
Little bit, but I mean, he was 12 of 21 for 104 yards and a touchdown, and an interception. But that touchdown, that touchdown came late. I mean, it was only a 3-point game. I get it, but so fine. You play the hand you dealt. You play the hand you dealt, but the defense is playing well, and we've said it all this whole season that it starts up front. They had 2 sacks again in this game, and 7 quarterback hits. So they're getting pressure. They're setting edges. The fact that Barmore came back and proved it. Judon, obviously, Uche. But irritating again when you go back to coaching, and we can hit this in a minute. And why not? I mean, with Coach Joe, you're not going to be able to play the wash again today for Coach's Corner. Sorry, pal. But you son of a bitch. Yeah. But the thing is, why is Judon dropping into coverage so much? Why is Uche dropping into coverage so much? I just hate the way they're managing.
Chris, is that a damnation of the linebackers? Are our outside linebackers that bad that they're going to drop into coverage? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I mean, that may be the case, because I don't really have a big problem with how Belichick and Stephen Belichick and Mayo, calling these games, and some of the personnel they're putting on the field. They're giving rookies a chance, but the middle of the field is so bad. And Bentley's up there again in tackles and so on, and they're really high up on him.
Don't you just want to see those red sleeves around the quarterback's neck, like majority of the downs?
Wow, listen to him. Look, man, that's very aggressive, Joseph.
Very aggressive, Joseph. Listen,
resolution, mind. Very aggressive.
Wow.
To be more aggressive in the new year.
There it is. He gave us his resolution.
But no, listen, I mean, again, what they are this year is based, any success they're having this year is based on the defense. Again, another score, another Duggar, pick 6.
And Chris, listen, for Barmore, essentially didn't give you much all year. Imagine if now that the edge has been set with Judon and Uche, imagine next year if Barmore can be healthy and return to his rookie form.
Right.
Let me tell you something, Chris. Then you're going to get a push in the mid. Like, you're going to have yourself a formidable, up front. Yep. But again, you're going to have to build to try to get some linebackers to strengthen the middle of the field again. And we talked about this last offseason, and I think he thought McMillan and those guys and Wilson Sr., the guy from Cleveland, were going to do that. And they really didn't develop into the guys that I think he thought they were going to be. Yeah.
Well, listen, and they allowed 86 yards rushing from them, which is, I mean, Miami's not a huge rushing team to begin with. You don't have Tua in there, so I get that. But, Mark, the numbers that you really – and let's not forget, no Marcus Jones, which is a guy that they brought in to be able to run with Tyreek Hill and these guys. No Jack Jones. Was Mills out too? I don't remember. I think
if he played, he was sporadic. He wasn't in full time.
Tyreek Hill, seven targets, 4 receptions for 55 yards, no touchdowns. That's pretty damn good job. Now, again, who's throwing the ball to him? I get it.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, Chris.
Waddle, same thing. Just real quick. 5 attempts, 3 catches, 52 yards, no touchdowns.
Yeah. But if you go watch the film, Chris, there were times that those guys were wide open, running wide open, and Bridgewater just dumped it down. Whether or not he didn't want to get hit, I don't know what it was, but I saw
You're not going to let me feel good about the defense, you jerk.
No,
You're not going to do that.
No. I'm giving them credit, Chris. I'm just building us up to this Buffalo game. There were 2 or 3 times that those guys were running free. Like one time, Hill's hands were in the air and Bridgewater dumps it down. Like, I don't know what. So, in other words, my point is this is going to be a different week because Allen's not dumping down. If Diggs puts his hands up, the ball's going to him. So neither Jones is playing this week. And Chris, Jack Jones got put on the suspension list. What is that about?
Yeah, I guess something happened with his rehab where he didn't show up for some sort of a rehab
Is that
assignment.
what it was?
And it was some sort of miscommunication, so they suspend him. And then somebody else got suspended too.
With the punter, Bailey.
Yeah, which, so who cares, about that. But yeah, I mean, and we want to get into Pat's preview now, but just give me a Sunday stiff from that game really quick. I think we both have similar.
My Sunday stiff, Chris, again, you could pick coaching every damn week, but I'm not going to pick coaching. My Sunday stiff, Chris, I'm going to go Mac Jones just because, and I know his stats look better than they are, but Chris, he was missing guys open. That game shouldn't even have been that close. My Sunday stiff is Mac Jones.
Yeah, I had him, and I have. I'm pretty much the offensive front.
That's every week.
It's just every week. It's the same thing, and I give some love in the Sunday stiff to guys like Aguilar that they're just the rounding routes, not Dalton. They're just not astute out there. Mac Jones is running for his life. They're not coming back to him. They're kind of just standing still. So,
all right.
That's our recap of the Miami game. So yeah, they got the win. It sounds like from Mark and I, they lost the game, but it all matters moving forward for this game tomorrow. And we're going to talk about that right now. Or actually right on the other side of the break, we're going to talk Pat's preview in that Buffalo game right after this.
Time again for a timeout for a message from one of our sponsors. No one ever thinks they will be in the need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people all across this great country who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. So whether it's a traffic ticket or if you need reduced DUI or more serious issues, call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help you. Corso Law.
Are you ready for the Pats Nation? The only real deal Patriot postgame show. And now, Corso and Catone.
Yes.
Back in with Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. And tomorrow, they kick off against the Buffalo Bills, and we want to break that thing down. We're going to do it in Pat's preview. We're going to do that right now. Joe? Tomorrow, they kick off against Buffalo at 1 p.m. Eastern time up in Orchard Park, New York. And what's geared up to be a real hostile environment, something that we probably haven't seen out of that place, and believe it or not. And look, right off the top, Mark, the DeMar Hamlin situation, with the Bills, this is akin to me to basically in Rocky, Adrian waking up and saying win. I mean, that's what this dude basically did. He got up and said, hey guys, win this game. So what they're going to bring onto that field tomorrow, and you 60,000 more people that are all bearing down on the Patriots. First of all, they can't stand them anyway. Second of all, they've now become the enemy through this anyway, and it's just going to be brutal for the Patriots. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the emotional energy that I think Buffalo is going to bring and that crowd is going to bring into the stadium is going to be like nothing we've ever seen before, just because of what happened Monday night and everything that's transpired. And, yeah, the fact that the kid gave him the basic thumbs up and like you said, basically the Adrian win, they're going to come in there and they're going to be sky high and ready to roll for their brother who's going to be watching from the hospital bed, I'm sure. So yeah, I don't even think we can measure, Chris, how much emotion is going to be in that stadium and on that field on the Buffalo side of the ball tomorrow. It's going to be unbelievable, and rightfully so. But it's just going to be something that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it reminders throughout the whole game, I'm sure, as to what happened, and like you say, rightfully so. And regardless of the scenarios, which we're going to get to in a couple of minutes, about playoff scenarios and these kinds of things, whether they need the whether they need the game for the bye or not, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. If Kansas City wins today, because Kansas City's playing, by the time you all see this, Kansas City will have already played. Mark and I both think they're going to win that game against
Chris.
the Raiders.
Doesn't Buffalo have to win to secure the 2 seed?
They do.
If Cincinnati wins, Buffalo has to win to secure the 2 seed. So Buffalo don't want to be the 3 seed. Buffalo wants to be the 2 seed. There's no doubt about that, because then you host. Because if you're playing Kansas City, and we're going to get into the scenarios, it's a neutral field and a championship game, and I know we're going to get into that. So it's an important game for Buffalo tomorrow, and they're going to play.
It is, and because I would have said to you, if it didn't make it, if Kansas City wins, or if they win that game today, which we think they're going to, and it really made no difference to them, and they were locked in at number 2. To me, if I'm Buffalo, from a football standpoint, out of the teams remaining, possible teams, New England, Miami, or Pittsburgh, I'd rather play New England.
Oh, absolutely. I'd rather
sit my guys, get my own bye week.
I think, and Chris, I think emotionally and mentally, based on the week they just had, you would sit some guys and just say, hey, get yourself collectively together, because we're going to have to play wild card weekend. But now they're not going to do that. So
no, and the game is going to matter to them. So listen, just real quick, and I want to get to your breakdown, guys that are going to be questionable tomorrow. There are no guys listed as out right now. Marcus Jones is going to play tomorrow. So isn't Parker. But Jonathan Jones is still on the list. Mills is still on the list. Jonnu Smith, I doubt he'll play. Jacoby Myers, I think he'll play. But the 2 big ones are Jonathan Jones and Jalen Mills. And
those are big, Chris.
And let's go to the Buffalo offense first. I know we usually stop at the Patriots offense, but let's talk right away about the Buffalo passing game.
So Buffalo, Chris, they're gonna do things in the middle of the field that we can't stop. Right? They got the kid Davis, they got Diggs, they got the tight end. They're going to do things in that middle of the field that we haven't stopped all year. And Allen's going to do that. Okay. The edge, you're going to have to set it, and you're going to have to play it well. And that's been one of our strengths this year, because, Allen disappears and runs and has those RPOs, and he picks up 20 and 30 yards a pop, especially against us. But I don't think he's going to be doing that tomorrow. I think Buffalo, from that first game, got to see how easy it was to just pick us apart in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And at home, I think it's going to be compounded, Chris, even more so, that we can't stop that, especially with Mills and Jack Jones out.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jonathan Jones perhaps too.
And Jonathan Jones perhaps. Yes, I forgot about that.
All your best corners. And you know what, Mark, to their defense, the Patriots defense, to defending them, there's not too many teams around the league where you take their 3 to 4 top defensive backs off the field, and
nobody's going to be able to. No, nobody can do that.
Who's doing that? We give them a lot of crap, the defense around here. The secondary looks like, look who the hell you're parading out on the field, the Miles Bryants of the world, and Wades and guys that we don't even know. So. Yeah, you're dealing with Diggs, 103 catches for 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. This team stacked. They're loaded. They're ready to go. Knox, Gabriel Davis, McKenzie, Singleton. These catching balls out of the backfield. And look, don't get fooled by last time they played, where the defense looked pretty good. They kind of held Josh Allen under wraps a little bit. They didn't, Diggs, they weren't completing balls. Look, Buffalo chose to do what they wanted in the last game. Let's say it again. They did what they chose to do. This is a team last game that was sort of like the Patriots of old, offenses that said, you know what, we're going to go easy here. We're not going to have Josh Allen running the quarterback runs. We're not going to put him in jeopardy. We don't need to go down the field with the ball. We're going to take what the Patriots give us. We're going to dump the ball underneath, and we're going to win the game anyway.
And they
did. Tomorrow is a completely different animal completely.
Yep.
So, yeah, obviously we give the edge to the Bills in the passing game,
Edge,
you know.
big.
So, I mean, but like you say, key to win on defense is going to be, try to keep, believe it or not, try to keep him in the pocket.
Try to keep him in pocket,
read,
Chris, and hit him as often as you can hit him.
Right. And make him read the field, make him go to second and third, second and third options, try to lock Diggs down the best way you can. And if they're going to run the ball, they're going to run the ball. But that's really the only chance they have.
That's it.
Is to try to keep him in that pocket.
On defense,
I don't think they're going to be able to do
I
it.
agree.
Because running the ball, look, the Bills, it's very deceiving with them when they run the ball. Because Josh Allen, Josh Allen makes up a lot of that. You know what I mean? They're seventh in the league. They average 142 yards a game, which is seventh, and 5.5 yards a carry. But again, Josh Allen averages 6.5. You know what I mean? So he's the reason that running game. Otherwise, I'm not that scared of their running attack, other than trying to keep this kid. And they're going to have to play a lot of zone, by the way, against him tomorrow, because you can't turn your back playing man against Josh Allen.
No,
they did that last year.
And look what happened to them.
Look what happened. So defensively, we definitely have our work cut out for us tomorrow. And you never know. I mean, our defense has showed up in a lot of these games, but offensively, Mark, what can we possibly do to try to win this game?
Offensively, Chris, and I know I say it every week, our offensive line stinks, right?
Yeah.
The only way you can win this game, Chris, is if all of a sudden your offensive line can run block. And I don't think they can. But if they can run block, you're going to have to control the clock and keep the ball away from Buffalo, Chris, and limit the number of times Josh Allen is on the field. And the only way you're going to do that is running the ball, play action pass, move the change, go on 12, 13, 14, 15 play drives, eat up clock. Even if you get a field goal, eat up clock, get points, eat up clock, get points. And I don't think the offensive line is capable of doing that, Chris. But that would be my key on offense, because you're not throwing the ball all over the field. You're just not. And I get Buffalo's down to their third safety, because the safety that just got hurt was in for Pryor, who was the starting safety. So now they're down to their third. Harmon is now they are down to your third safety. But I don't think I don't think Mac Jones and our offense is the offense to take advantage of that. Maybe Cincinnati is, maybe Pat Mahomes is, but not us.
Yeah, because he was in for Hyde. So
he was in for Hyde. I'm sorry, I said Pryor. He was in for Hyde. Yes,
but you're right. They have a problem. And look, running the ball against the Bills. They allow 104 yards a game. That's fourth in the league. 4.5 a carry. That's 13. Ed Oliver, Jordan Phillips, Jones, Settle. I mean, these guys. To be able to free up Milano and Edmonds as the linebackers to come up and help in the run game. Believe the Buffalo's game plan tomorrow is going to be force the Patriots to pass, take the run away, stack the box, and make them have to throw the ball. I mean, that's what it's going to be. And to me, you're right. We've got to be able to run the ball. And I say an extension of the running game is some of these passes. So this may be the first game where I look at their game plan and what they've been doing about that short stuff, some of the lateral stuff, and this may be the one you want to do that, because you got to be able to take what they're going to give you in this game tomorrow. It's the only chance you have. It's got to be like the old Patriots. Remember in 2004 when they would keep the ball away from Manning and go on those long, long drives.
Can I say something?
You may.
You mentioned game plan. There is no game plan on offense. The coaches don't have any. What the hell is wrong with you? Offensive game plan.
Well, hey, Mark, look, I mean, like Berman always says, this is why they play the games, right? Yeah. In the NFL, you never, ever know what the hell is going to happen.
All right,
that's why you play the game. So if we have a key to victory, that's what it's going to be.
Is it the offensive game plan, the specials to Denny's? I thought.
It is. It's the new special with the hash browns.
You know what my key to victory is for the offense?
It's over Miami.
My key to the offense's key to victory is don't show up. Don't get off the bus. Stay on the bus.
All right. So give me your prediction of this game.
40-17 Buffalo.
40?
40-17 Buffalo.
Yeah. I honestly, I got it higher. Last night I talked to you. I told you they're going to score 50 points. It's going to come close. It's going to come close.
All right.
Patriots score 21, and that's just because they do some things at the end. And I think Zappe ends up on the field in this game.
How many points for Buffalo?
48-50.
Okay, I said 40.
They may crack
you could be right.
Probably 50. You say 50 what? Doesn't matter. Does it make a difference? 50 what? 50. Anything over that makes no difference.
I said 40. So we'll see. But I think we both agree it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah. So the NFL this week, they had a lot. There was a tough thing they had to deal with, obviously. And what do we do about the games? Because look, it's $1 billion industry. You have to deal with it. They decided to cancel that, to not play that Buffalo Cincinnati game, to basically put that on the shelf. They're not going to replay it. And that trickled down a bunch of different issues and things. And they came together, and this is what they came up with. A lot of neutral site, possibilities. And what they are, and I'm pulling this up, sorry. So the first scenario is if Buffalo and Kansas City both win. Kansas City wins today, Buffalo wins tomorrow, which we think both will happen. And those two meet in the championship game. It's going to be played on a neutral site. Okay? And who, does that I think I'm okay with that because Kansas City kind of backed into that number one spot then, right? And they've never played a road game. So, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about this whole neutral site thing?
So evidently, Chris, the Bengals, and I just read this on my phone. It just flashed across my phone.
Coaches are happy.
They're livid about this whole situation because the NFL rules state that you go by winning percentage for seeding. Yep. Okay. So the coach is pissed for for Cincinnati because, listen, Cincinnati got screwed in this whole scenario because no matter what, the most they get screwed, right? So the rules are the rules. Listen, if Buffalo and Kansas City win, you shouldn't be going to a neutral site if they face each other in an AFC championship game. Go by winning percentage. I believe Buffalo, because they played less
over
games,
16 games,
would have a higher winning percentage. Well, you're going to have to go to Buffalo. That's the rules. So you change the rules on the fly instead of just saying the rules are the rules and we can deal with it during the offseason. The rules committee can make an amendment to the rules if something like this ever happens again. But for now, we're going to go with winning percentage because those are the rules. So they amend it. And you mentioned something good yesterday, Chris, last night to me. You said, hey, who's going to vote no? You can't vote no. How do you vote no in this situation?
Right. Yeah, because here's the thing. I mean, and we're not saying this is the wrong thing. I'm just saying that if you're one of the owners, what are you going to do? You're going to walk into this meeting after what just happened and what you just saw and say, no, I'm voting against that. No. Listen, we need to uphold the fact that you can only change a rule in the offseason. Yeah. So it's kind of like you're taking advantage of us because what are we supposed to say? And, that sounds callous to talk that way. But
that's
But that's the rules. That's what the bylaws state. And so, who's not going to vote for that? Yeah, because the way Cincinnati was playing, I truly believe they could have got the number one spot because I don't think anybody was playing better than Cincinnati, honestly.
Well, listen,
and I think they were going to dismantle Buffalo on Monday.
Yeah. It was a horrific injury. On that play, it was horrific, but Cincinnati was going down the score again. Cincinnati probably would have went up 14-3 on that drive. Cincinnati was rolling Monday night at home. They were rolling. Cincinnati had a good shot to at least be the 2 seed, maybe the 1 seed. Who knows? So, yeah. And the other thing we talked about, Chris, the only other scenario that could have happened was you delay some games. So maybe you make up the Buffalo-Cincinnati game next week. Or maybe you make Buffalo play Cincinnati this week and New England and Buffalo is next week. Baltimore and Cincinnati is next week. That would mean you'd have to take a week. You'd have to push the playoffs back a week, and you'd have to take 2 weeks in between the Super Bowl to 1 week. So that would be your only other option if you didn't come up with this rule change. And Chris said, Mark, they're going to go from 2 weeks to 1 week. That'll never happen. And I said, well, why not? He said, think about it. It's $1 billion organization. It's $1 billion event. I said, what do you mean? Gambling. And I forgot all about that. Yeah. Well, FanDuel and DraftKings, the amount of
MGM.
gambling.
We talk
that
about
takes-
it. We
right?
talk about it on this show.
The amount of gambling that takes place during those 2 weeks, you're going to take a week away of revenue. They're not going to take a week away of revenue. It's the biggest game in the world. Is the Super Bowl. They're not taking it away.
It'll be the first time Pat Mahomes is going to go on the road at any type. So basically the scenarios are these. If Buffalo reaches the championship game against either Kansas City or Cincinnati, I believe it's going to be on a neutral. I believe it's going to be on a neutral site, or maybe Buffalo play. If it's Cincinnati, I think Buffalo may play at home. But if it's if it's any situation like Buffalo and Kansas City, they're going to play this on a neutral site. Yeah, and that's the way it's going to be. So for better or worse, that's what it's going to be. And so gear up, because tomorrow are going to be interesting games, and you still got the Jacksonville game going on tonight, where they're going to determine the winner of that division. I think it's going to be Jacksonville. So good stuff, Mark. We'll see what happens against Buffalo. We'll be on 30 minutes following the game for the Pats Nation, the Patriots post-game show. But Pats Preview was presented by Special Sauce Podcast. What's your special sauce? SpecialSaucePodcast.com. Hey, buckle up when we come back. Catone's Comments is next.
Special Sauce Podcast. You liking the sauce? The sauce is good, man.
Start-up, finance, train them, trust them, and let them lead.
With your host, Marcus Aurelius. Tune in to Special Sauce Podcast, wherever you podcast. What's your special sauce? Time for Catone's Comments!
Okay, so last week we talked about New Year's resolutions, right? And I said, I'm going to hold my resolutions until this week, because it was just, it was New Year's Eve, New Year's. I said, we're going to hold off. Okay, so Joe happens to mention today, New Year's resolution, I want to be more aggressive this year. Listen, New Year's resolutions are for morons. Okay, why do you need to make a New Year's resolution? I ain't making no New Year's resolution. Here's why. Oh, don't want to yell as much. I don't want to be as angry. I want to go eat better food. I want to exercise. You should be exercising anyways. You shouldn't be stuffing your face with potato chips and everything, all the garbage you're eating because you're 400 pounds. You shouldn't be doing that anyways. It's not healthy. I'm going to be more aggressive. Well, listen, if you're too meek and mild, Joe, in your personality, then you should be a little more aggressive anyways. Why do you need a New Year's resolution to say, I want to be more aggressive? What kind? This New Year's resolution crap is exactly that. It's crap. It's a lifestyle. This is how you live your life. Like Bill Parcells used to say, you are who you are. At a certain point of the season, you are who you are, and that's it. So if you're going to make changes in your life for the better, because it's going to make you live longer, or it's going to make you a better person, whatever it's going to do, that's not a New Year's resolution. That's a life choice that you should be making anyways. So I don't want to hear this. Oh, I'm making a New Year's resolution. Another thing brought up by these people trying to make money, just like Black Friday. Right? This to me is another Black Friday event. This New Year's resolution is like Black Friday. It's a made-up event to make money off of people. Okay, but New Year's resolution, I'm not drinking this week. I just saw it the other day, dry January. What the hell is dry January? I never heard of such a thing in all my life. All right, so forget these New Year's resolutions, people. Be who you are. Love who you are. Do what you're going to do if you want to make positive changes in your life. But New Year's resolutions are nothing but a crutch, because in 2 weeks when you fall down and you break your resolution like I did last year, it's foolishness. It's foolishness. Don't make New Year's resolutions.
I'm sorry. I just have to, because you know why he's saying this, Joe, because he blew the resolution less than 24 hours after he gave it about being
Foolishness.
Literally, yeah. During the same show, The
Foolishness.
resolution. Well, Mark, it's clear we know you are who you are. Mark's who he is. There it is. There it is. But yeah, listen, I've always had the same one. I'm resolute to not have a resolution. That's it.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
I
My
like
New Year's
that.
resolution is to not have a stupid New Year's resolution. I'm with you, Mark. What pissed them off? You know what all this came from, Joe, right? All this came from dry January. That set him off. That's it. Because Santa Claus gave him that case of bourbon, and now he's going to keep it closed for another month.
Forget it.
There's no chance that's happening. Mark, very good. I think most of the people out there probably agree with you about these New Year's resolutions. So Catone's Comments was presented by Studio 42 Designs. For all your graphic design needs, studio42designs.com. And listen, hey, let's get real. Hey, we only have a couple minutes, so we want to make sure we get our locks of the weekend. So we'll go real deal and Sunday spread. Joe, what are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England feel. It's going to be real.
Mark, step up to the sports book. Georgia worked out for you last week. Cleveland did for me, but Mark's been pretty damn good all season long. So let's get right to it, Mark. Let's give these people a good lock of the week. What do you got?
My lock of the week, Chris, and we talked about this. We joked about it. My lock of the week. I said, you wait till you hear my lock of the week. It's going to be, I've never picked against the Patriots. It's Buffalo. I'm going to make a special circumstance this week because of the tragedy that happened. I think the whole country is pulling for Buffalo unless you're a New England fan this week. And I am a New England. No one's more of a New England fan than me. But I got to make a little bit of money. Buffalo, Chris, is going to win this game by a zillion points. I don't know how this line's not double digits. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I would have to take the Patriots. The Bills. There's no way that the Bills shouldn't be everybody's lock of the week this week just because of the raw emotion that's going to be on that field.
Yeah, listen, I agree too. That was my lock of the week. It's 7.5, the spread, which it only went from 7 to 7.5 when this thing went down, and I'm shocked by that because I think they're going to dismantle the Patriots. And hey, listen, with our luck, with New England's luck, they'll get their ass kicked tomorrow. All the other teams, Miami will lose, Tennessee will lose, Pittsburgh will lose, and we'll end up going up there next week again to Buffalo and get our ass kicked 2 weeks in a row at the same place. But yeah, they're going to cover that, no problem. Mark, real quick, your thoughts on the Detroit Green Bay game? Detroit's getting 5. I like Detroit in this game. What do you say? You think Rodgers and Green Bay just keep rolling?
I think Rodgers is gonna do like Brady did last week. I think Rodgers is gonna at home will pull this game out by they'll cover late. They'll cover late. But I think I'm gonna disagree with you on this one. I wouldn't touch that game. That's a game I just wouldn't touch because I don't trust Rodgers. I'm gonna tell you who I like, Chris.
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
I know you're gonna disagree. I would give the 2.5. I like Pittsburgh at home. I think Pittsburgh's going to beat Cleveland.
I do
because I think Tomlin is going to back his way into the playoffs. Because I think New England's going to get beat, and I think Joe Flacco, who's starting for the Jets, is going to beat Miami. And I think Tomlin's going to back in. I like give him 2.5 at Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh.
Cleveland played the best game they played all season long last week. Watson starting to play a lot better. Because they got Watson, I love the way Cleveland's playing. I don't think the quarter Pickett for Pittsburgh is going to have a huge problem with that pass rush and Garrett and company. Clowney's not playing. He's all pissed off. But give me the 2.5 points.
Okay.
And give me the 2.5 points. I like Cleveland in this game. So, hey, step up to that sports book. Make sure you take our locks of the week, our final locks for week 18. We'll have some for the playoff games that are coming up. But hey, that's our show. Corso and Catone was presented by the Pats Nation, the only Patriots post-game show worth watching. Join us 30 minutes following tomorrow's game against Buffalo, 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff. And Mark and I have all your post-game coverage, including Mac Mania, Coach's Corner, a real Coach's Corner, and, of course, our Sunday Stiff. And I feel like it's going to be the last Pats Nation of the season because I don't think the Patriots are going to make the playoffs in this situation. But
No,
make
I
sure
don't
you come
either.
back. I know, right, Mark? So make sure you come back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern for Corso and Catone. We're going to hopefully maybe be previewing a
Playoff game.
a playoff game. But I don't know. Either that or we'll be doing a season recap of the Patriots and then gear up for Corso and Catone weeks later because we're going to start talking more Bruins, Celtics, and their fantastic seasons those guys are having over there. And, of course, your heated hotline calls. Anything you want to bring to the table, call us. Let us know. We'll be ready for it. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Find Corso and Catone on iHeartRadio, iTunes, or wherever you podcast. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, Corso and Catone, and catch the chaos at 7 p.m. on Saturday.